In the shallow, sun-dappled waters of our world's oceans, amidst the gentle sway of seagrass beds, lives a creature of quiet wonder. It is an animal that seems to have been pieced together from the fragments of a dream. With the head of a horse, the prehensile tail of a monkey, and the armored body of an insect, the seahorse drifts through its life with a serene and almost magical grace. These are not creatures of great speed or imposing size. Instead, their existence is a testament to a different kind of success, one of stillness, stealth, and remarkable specialization. They are the shy, retiring jewels of the marine world, often overlooked but holding secrets that challenge our understanding of life itself. For centuries, naturalists and sailors alike have been captivated by these strange fish. They appear in myths and legends, often depicted as the steeds of sea gods. Yet the reality of their lives is perhaps even more extraordinary than any myth. How does such a fragile-looking animal survive in an ocean filled with swift predators? How does it hunt when it is one of the slowest swimmers in the sea? And how has it developed a method of reproduction so unique that it turns our very definition of parenthood on its head? These are the questions that have drawn scientists to study them, peering into their world with ever more sophisticated tools. Our journey to understand this animal will be one of discovery, led by the records of the past and the technology of the present. We will delve into dusty museum drawers, pulling out specimens collected over 100 years ago. We will unearth old film reels, watching the first flickering images of seahorses captured on camera. This archive-led approach allows us to see not only the seahorse itself, but also how our perception of it has evolved. From a simple curiosity, it has become a subject of intense scientific inquiry, revealing profound lessons about evolution and the intricate mechanics of life in the ocean. This is a story told through the passage of time. This exploration will be structured around three fundamental themes. First, we will investigate their incredible adaptations, looking at how they have mastered the art of camouflage and evolved a truly unique reproductive strategy. Next, we will examine their physical characteristics, measuring their delicate forms, and uncovering the surprising geometry and physics behind their everyday actions. Finally, we will look at their internal hardware, the complex biological machinery that allows these creatures to function. We will use science, from simple mathematics to the laws of physics, to decode the elegant solutions that evolution has engineered for this most unusual of fish. That is where our story begins. Our investigation begins by posing a simple question. What makes a seahorse a seahorse? To answer this, we must look beyond its charming appearance and explore the very fabric of its being. We will see how its physical form is not a whimsical accident of nature, but a highly functional design forged by millions of years of evolutionary pressure. Each bony plate, each independently moving eye, each subtle fin flutter serves a distinct purpose. The seahorse is a masterclass in optimization, where every feature is a trade-off between competing needs. The need for protection, the need for stealth, and the need to survive in a world where it seems hopelessly outmatched. We will use the lens of science to illuminate these hidden worlds. Through detailed studies and careful observation, researchers have begun to unravel the seahorse's secrets. We will explore the physics of their movement, understanding how they navigate the viscous forces of water at such a slow pace. We will examine the simple mechanics of their powerful feeding strike, a lightning-fast ambush that relies on principles of suction and leverage. By applying the laws that govern our own world to this miniature marine dragon, we can appreciate the sheer ingenuity of its design. It is a creature that seems to defy physics, yet in reality, it is a perfect expression of it. This journey will be a calm and fluid one, mirroring the unhurried nature of the seahorse itself. The visuals will guide our narrative, from serene shots of seahorses drifting through coral gardens to the precise, analytical view of a high-speed camera capturing a fin beat in slow motion. We will contrast the vibrant life of a seahorse in its natural habitat with the silent, preserved forms in museum collections. This visual tapestry, woven from both historical archives and modern scientific imaging, will provide a rich and immersive experience. We invite you to sit back and drift with us into their world. to appreciate the quiet beauty and the profound science of their existence. As we proceed, we will encounter remarkable stories of survival and ingenuity. We will learn how a father can give birth, how an animal can change its color to vanish into its surroundings, and how a tail designed for gripping can be a more valuable tool than one designed for swimming. The seahorse challenges our expectations of what a fish can be. It asks us to look closer, to think deeper, and to appreciate the immense diversity of life that evolution can produce. So let us begin our exploration of this quiet, strange, and utterly fascinating marine animal. The story of the seahorse is waiting to be told. Table of Contents, Part 2. Act 1, Adaptation. The Art of Disappearing, A Dance for Two, A Father's Embrace, The Anchored Life, The Price of Uniqueness. Survival in the ocean often depends on being unseen. For an animal as slow as the seahorse, this is not just a strategy. It is the very foundation of its existence. Seahorses are masters of camouflage. They can change their color. They can grow skin filaments to blend in. This is not a passive trait, but an active, deliberate process. A seahorse among dull brown seagrass will adopt a mottled brown appearance, move to a vibrant yellow sea fan. Over time, it can transform to match that backdrop. That change makes it nearly invisible to predators and to its unsuspecting prey. This transformation is controlled by specialized skin cells called chromatophores. Chromatophores are like tiny elastic bags filled with pigment. When change is needed, the seahorse's nervous system sends signals to them. Those signals make the muscles around chromatophores contract or relax. Contracting stretches the pigment bags wide. Relaxing shrinks them to tiny dots. By controlling thousands of these cells at once, the seahorse can paint its own skin. It creates intricate patterns that mimic the texture and color of coral, sponges, algae. It's a living canvas, constantly adjusting to stay hidden in plain sight. Research shows this ability is highly sophisticated. Seahorses don't just match dominant color, they replicate complexity. They can create spots, stripes, blotches, breaking up their body outline, disruptive coloration. That makes it hard for a predator's brain to recognize their shape. In one experiment, seahorses in an aquarium with brightly colored plastic objects began to adopt those hues. That proves their camouflage responds directly to visual cues, dynamic and sensitive. The process isn't instant. Some adjustments happen in minutes. A full change to a complex environment can take several days, or even weeks. That's because they may need to produce new pigments or grow new skin structures. It's a slow, methodical process, suited to a slow, methodical life. For the seahorse, patience is survival. Mastering the art of disappearing turns vulnerability into strength. In the quiet world of the seahorse, finding a mate is a delicate and beautiful affair. It is not a frantic competition, but an elegant and prolonged courtship. When a male and female show interest in one another, they begin a courtship dance that can last for several days. They mirror each other's movements, swimming gracefully together, their tails sometimes intertwined. They change colors, brightening from their usual camouflage tones, brilliant yellows, brilliant oranges, brilliant whites. This dance is more than just a display. It is a vital process of synchronization, ensuring that both partners are ready for the crucial moment of transfer. This elaborate ballet serves a critical purpose. It strengthens the bond between the pair. Many seahorse species form monogamous bonds that can last an entire breeding season or longer. Each morning, the bonded pair will reunite to perform a shorter version of their dance, reinforcing their connection before separating for the day to hunt. This daily greeting ritual is a remarkable example of social behavior in a fish. It ensures that when the female's eggs are ready, the male is present and hormonally prepared to receive them. The dance is a silent conversation, a promise of commitment. The climax of this courtship is a truly extraordinary event. The female hydrates her eggs, preparing them for fertilization, and transfers them into a special pouch on the male's abdomen. The transfer itself is a moment of exquisite timing and precision. The pair drifts upwards in the water, belly to belly. In a brief, almost clumsy embrace, the female deposits her unfertilized eggs into the male's brood pouch using an organ called an oviduct. The male then releases his sperm into the pouch to fertilize the eggs internally. This single fleeting act is the culmination of days of patient and synchronized dancing. From an evolutionary perspective, this complex courtship has clear advantages. The dance allows the female to assess the male's fitness and the quality of his brood pouch. For the male, it guarantees that the eggs he is about to carry are indeed his own. This shared investment and mutual assessment increase the chances of reproductive success. The courtship dance is a perfect example of how behavior can be as important an adaptation as any physical trait, a refined solution to the universal challenge of finding a worthy partner and ensuring the continuation of one's lineage. Perhaps the most famous and, bewildering adaptation of the seahorse is male pregnancy. After the female transfers her eggs, the male's role shifts from suitor to incubator. The brood pouch, which seals shut after the transfer, becomes a self-contained nursery, a paternal womb that provides everything the developing embryos need. This is not simply a bag for carrying eggs. It is a complex, living organ that actively nurtures the young. The pouch wall becomes thick and highly vascularized, rich with blood vessels that deliver oxygen and nutrients to the developing brood. It is a remarkable case of convergent evolution, mirroring the function of a mammalian uterus. Inside this protective pouch, the male carefully regulates the environment for his offspring. He controls the salinity of the fluid within the pouch, gradually adjusting it over the course of the pregnancy to match that of the surrounding seawater. This prepares the young seahorses for their eventual entry into the ocean. The pouch also provides protection from predators and disease, creating a safe haven where the fragile embryos can develop. Scientific studies of the pouch fluid have revealed it contains antibacterial compounds and antifungal compounds, an internal pharmacy that guards the next generation against infection. The father's embrace is a complete life support system. The evolutionary reasons for this reversal of parental roles have long fascinated scientists. One leading hypothesis suggests it is a strategy to increase reproductive speed. By taking on the burden of pregnancy, the male frees the female to begin producing a new clutch of eggs almost immediately. As soon as the male gives birth, the female is often ready to mate again, sometimes on the very same day. This division of labor allows the pair to produce more broods during a breeding season than they could if the female had to carry the eggs herself. It is an incredibly efficient system for a small animal with a relatively short lifespan. After a gestation period that can last from 2 to 4 weeks, the male goes into labor. He endures muscular contractions, sometimes for hours, pumping and flexing his body to expel the fully formed miniature seahorses from his pouch. Dozens, or even hundreds, of tiny independent young are launched into the water column. With this final exhausting act, the father's duty is complete. The newborns are left to fend for themselves, and the male is soon ready to accept another clutch of eggs. This paternal devotion is an evolutionary masterstroke, a unique solution that has allowed seahorses to flourish against all odds. The seahorse's body is built for stillness, not for speed. In a world of currents and waves, staying put is a huge challenge. The key is its prehensile tail. Unlike the tails of most other fish, which are used for propulsion, the seahorse's tail is a flexible, boneless appendage for grasping. It acts as an anchor, allowing the seahorse to cling tightly to seagrass coral branches or other holdfasts. This keeps it stable in turbulent water, saving energy that would be spent on constant swimming. The tail links it to a small, personal territory. This preference is called site fidelity. Field studies using tagging and tracking show many seahorses have tiny home ranges, just a few square meters. They may spend adult lives in a single patch of seagrass. This anchored life is a strategic choice. It lets them learn their surroundings, find the best hiding spots, and the best ambush points. The math from these studies reveals high population densities and healthy habitats, with several individuals packed into small areas, each anchored. Living in one place means the environment must provide everything. Seahorses are thus highly adapted to specific habitats, typically shallow, sheltered areas with lots of holdfasts. Seagrass meadows, coral reefs both offer abundant anchor points and a rich supply of small crustaceans. Survival rates from field studies track habitat quality. Where seagrass is lost, populations plummet. Their specialized, anchored lifestyle makes them very vulnerable to habitat destruction. The gripping adaptation has a big trade-off. The tail is made of square interlocking bony plates, making it strong and flexible for grasping but useless for swimming. The seahorse has traded mobility for stability. It traded the ability to flee for the ability to hide. This evolutionary compromise defines its existence. It thrives not by exploring the vast ocean, but by mastering a tiny piece of it, anchored firmly while the rest of the world drifts by. Evolution is a story of trade-offs, and the seahorse is a perfect illustration of this principle. Every one of its remarkable adaptations comes with a corresponding cost or vulnerability. Its rigid armored body, composed of interlocking bony plates, offers excellent protection against many smaller predators. It is very difficult for a crab or small fish to crush a seahorse. However, this same armor severely restricts its flexibility and makes it one of the slowest and most awkward swimmers in the sea. This trade-off means that while it is well defended against some threats, it is completely unable to outrun larger, faster predators like tuna or rays. The energetic cost of male pregnancy is another significant trade-off. While it allows for a higher reproductive rate for the pair, the burden on the male is immense. Providing nutrients, oxygen, and a stable environment for hundreds of developing embryos requires a huge amount of energy. Studies measuring the metabolic rate of pregnant males show that it is significantly higher than that of non-pregnant males. This intense investment can leave the male weakened and more vulnerable to predation and disease. He is quite literally eating for hundreds, and this effort takes a toll on his own physical condition. Furthermore, the reproductive strategy of producing a large number of tiny offspring comes at a price. After the male gives birth, the miniature seahorses receive no further parental care. They are immediately subjected to the dangers of the open ocean. Predation pressure is intense, and the vast majority of newborns do not survive their first few days of life. Survival rates for juveniles are incredibly low. Often, less than 1% of a brood will reach adulthood. The strategy is one of quantity over quality, flooding the environment with offspring in the hope that a lucky few will make it. These adaptive trade-offs highlight the delicate balance of the seahorse's existence. Its unique traits are not superpowers, but finely tuned compromises that work only within a specific ecological context. The armor works because of camouflage. The slow swimming is offset by the prehensile tail, and the massive reproductive effort is necessary because of the perilous journey the young must face. The seahorse is not defying physics or biology. It is operating within their strict laws, pushing them to their limits to carve out a niche. Its survival is a testament to the strange and wonderful paths that evolution can take, but it also underscores its inherent fragility. At first glance, the seahorse seems to defy the very definition of a fish. Its upright posture, equine head, grasping tail. A closer look at its external form reveals a design of remarkable precision and function. The head, held at a distinct angle to the body, is perhaps its most iconic feature. Atop the head sits a small, crown-like structure called a coronet. Much like a human fingerprint, the coronet is unique to each individual seahorse. Researchers use coronet patterns to identify animals in the wild. Specimen databases show the coronet varies widely between species. Simple bumps, elaborate, spiny crowns. The seahorse's body is not covered in scales, but in a series of interlocking bony plates, a flexible armor. These plates are arranged in rings from the neck down to the tip of the tail. Taxonomists count those rings to tell species apart. Hippocampus radi typically has 11 trunk rings and 31 to 35 tail rings. That segmented exoskeleton gives rigid protection against small predators, while still allowing the graceful S-shaped curves seen in courtship. A perfect compromise between armor and agility. The prehensile tail is another defining characteristic. Unlike propulsive fishtails, it is square in cross-section, formed by 4 L-shaped corner plates per segment. Biomechanical studies show this gives superior resistance to twisting and a more secure grip, When not wrapped, the tail often sits in a tight coil. Specimen measurements show the tail is more than half the seahorse's total length. Finally, the fins are subtle, almost transparent. A small dorsal fin on the back is the main engine. That fin flutters at an incredible rate for delicate forward propulsion. A pair of tiny pectoral fins at the neck act as steering. Measured and catalogued, these traits show a creature built for precision, stability, and stealth. Each trait is a calibrated component in a masterfully designed biological machine. The elongated snout of the seahorse is far more than a simple tube for breathing. It is a highly sophisticated and deadly hunting tool, engineered to overcome the physical challenges of capturing tiny, evasive prey in water. The seahorse feeds on small crustaceans like copepods, mysid shrimp. These prey are extremely sensitive to changes in water pressure and can dart away in milliseconds. To catch them, the seahorse must strike with incredible speed and stealth. The entire feeding process, known as pivot feeding, relies on a combination of leverage and powerful suction. It is a perfect example of applied physics. The mechanics of the hunt are a study in geometry and force. As the seahorse approaches its prey, it slowly orients its head, anchoring its body with its tail. The pivot is a rapid upward rotation of the head, driven by the hyoid bone in its throat. This movement acts like a simple lever system, amplifying the speed at which the tip of the snout moves towards the target. The elongated snout ensures the seahorse can keep its main body at a safe distance from the prey. Only the very tip of the snout moves into the strike zone, creating a minimal disturbance in the water. The final stage of the attack is a burst of suction. As the head pivots, the seahorse simultaneously and explosively expands its buccal cavity, the space inside its mouth and gills. This rapid expansion creates a sudden drop in pressure inside the snout. Higher pressure water outside, along with the prey, is instantly sucked into the vacuum. The entire sequence, pivot and suction, is over in less than 1/1000th of a second. It is one of the fastest feeding events in the animal kingdom. The mathematics behind this suction force are compelling. The pressure difference is generated by the speed of mouth expansion. High-speed cameras and pressure sensors show flows over 1 meter per second. This is an incredible feat for such a small creature. The long, thin snout concentrates force over a tiny area, ensuring a successful capture almost every time. The seahorse's head is not just shaped like a horse, it is engineered like a precision pipette. To be an effective ambush predator, an animal must monitor its environment with exceptional awareness. The seahorse has a remarkable solution. Its eyes can move independently. One eye scans the seagrass ahead for a potential meal, while the other watches backward for predators. That gives the seahorse almost a 360-degree field of vision without moving its head. It's like two periscopes operating at once, each feeding a different stream of information to the brain. This trait, shared with chameleons, is a major sensory adaptation. Studies show the seahorse brain processes both visual streams simultaneously. That builds a complex, three-dimensional map of its surroundings. When a target appears, the seahorse swivels both eyes forward to focus. Binocular vision gives depth perception to judge distance to prey, essential for its lightning-fast feeding strike. It can switch from panoramic surveillance to focused targeting in an instant. The seahorse eye structure is finely tuned to its environment. They detect minute movements of crustacean prey. Eyes placed high on the head give a clear vantage point, even when the body is hidden behind coral or seagrass. Placement lets them see without being seen. In dappled, murky, shallow water, this keen eyesight is crucial for hunting and survival, allowing them to spot the subtle flicker of a swimming leg or the shadow of a passing threat. Independent movement plus sharp acuity makes the seahorse visual system formidable. It lets this slow-moving creature stay constantly vigilant, both hunter and hunted, with quiet efficiency. The seahorse never needs to turn its head to know what's behind it. Its wandering eyes paint a complete picture of its small, complex world, letting it react with precision when the moment is right. The seahorse is a famously poor swimmer. Well, its primary mode of locomotion is a single small dorsal fin oscillating rapidly. Marketing shot, slow motion close-up of that dorsal fin beating. It can beat as fast as 30 to 50 times per second. That flutter creates a train of tiny vortices that gently push it forward in an upright posture. Tiny pectoral fins on its neck act like rudders for steering and stability. Not powerful, but unbelievably precise, letting it thread through complex habitats. To understand this, we need to think physics at small scales. For tiny, slow animals, water feels like a thick, viscous syrup. This is the world of low Reynolds numbers, where viscosity overwhelms inertia. At low Reynolds, drag dominates. Gliding doesn't work. As soon as the seahorse stops beating its fin, the viscous pull brings it to an almost immediate halt. Its odd body shape is actually ideal here. Rigid, bumpy armor helps stability. Those plates create small eddies that prevent tumbling and currents. Upright posture is inefficient for speed, but perfect for pivot feeding. It sacrifices speed for stealth and stability, arriving unseen. The tail is physics engineered. Square cross-section, multiple contact points, distributes grip. The flexible tail conforms to seagrass and coral, holding on through surges. This combination of strength and conformity keeps it anchored even in strong surges. Its entire physical design is a masterclass in living life in the slow lane, using the laws of physics to its advantage. The seahorse belongs to a family of fish called Syngnathidae, and its unusual physical characteristics become even clearer when compared to its close relatives, the pipefish and the sea dragons. A slender pipefish, an upright seahorse, and an ornate leafy sea dragon. Side by side, pipefish are like seahorses that have been stretched out and straightened. They share the same bony-plated armor and tubular snout, but they hold their bodies horizontally when they swim. Most pipefish have a small caudal fin at the end of their tail, which they use for propulsion, and their tail is not prehensile. They represent a more conventional body plan, an intermediate step between a normal fish and the highly specialized seahorse. Sea dragons, found only in the waters of southern Australia, are perhaps the most flamboyant members of the family. The common sea dragon, the leafy sea dragon, the recently discovered ruby sea dragon. They are larger than most seahorses and are adorned with spectacular leaf-like appendages that extend from their head and body. These appendages are not used for swimming. They are purely for camouflage, allowing the sea dragons to mimic floating seaweed with breathtaking accuracy. Like seahorses, they swim using a transparent dorsal fin and steer with tiny pectoral fins. These three groups, pipefish, seahorses, and sea dragons, show a fascinating spectrum of adaptation. The pipefish demonstrates the ancestral traits of an elongated, armored body. The seahorse took this blueprint and bent it into an upright form, sacrificing its tail fin for a prehensile anchor to master a stationary, ambush lifestyle. The sea dragons took the same basic body plan and evolved it for a life of drifting camouflage, becoming living pieces of kelp. Each group modified the same set of physical characteristics to exploit a different niche within the marine environment. By looking at these variations, we can better appreciate the evolutionary path the seahorse has taken. Its upright posture and grasping tail are not random quirks, but highly successful specializations that distinguish it from its relatives. The entire family is defined by its bony armor and unique method of male brooding. But within that shared framework, diversity flourishes. The seahorse stands as a testament to how a few key changes in physical form, a bend in the neck, a curl in the tail, can create an entirely new way of life, perfectly tuned to its own small corner of the ocean. Beneath the seahorse's delicate skin lies a formidable suit of armor. This is not an external shell, but an internal skeleton pushed to the outside, a series of bony plates fused together to form rigid, protective rings. This structure provides a remarkable defense against the crushing forces of a predator's bite. The histology of this armor, the microscopic study of its tissue, reveals a complex composite material. It is made of bony struts and collagen fibers arranged in a way that maximizes strength while minimizing weight. This internal hardware is the seahorse's first and most important line of defense, a fortress built from its own skeleton. The connective tissues that join these bony rings are equally crucial. While the plates themselves are rigid, the joints between them allow for a surprising degree of flexibility. This is what enables the seahorse to perform its graceful courtship dances and, most importantly, to wrap its tail around a holdfast. These tissues are a blend of stiffness and elasticity, strong enough to hold the armor together, but pliable enough to permit movement. Looking at micrographs of these junctions, we can see the dense network of collagen fibers that act like tiny, powerful hinges, allowing the seahorse to bend without breaking its protective shell. This biomechanical design has been put to the test by engineers. In laboratory experiments, three-dimensionally printed models of seahorse armor have been subjected to crushing forces. The results show that the structure is incredibly resilient, able to withstand significant pressure before failing. The plates are designed to glide and pivot over one another, absorbing the energy of an impact and distributing it across the body. This prevents any single point from bearing the full force of an attack. It is a design that prioritizes damage resistance, a crucial feature for an animal that cannot flee from danger. This armor, however, comes at the cost of growth. Unlike a fish with scales, a seahorse cannot simply add rings as it gets bigger. Its bony plates grow along with it, a slow and energy-intensive process. The entire skeleton must expand gradually. This is one reason why seahorses remain small and grow relatively slowly compared to other fish. Their internal hardware, this knight-like armor, defines not only their resilience, but also the entire pace of their lives. It is a permanent, lifelong commitment to a strategy of passive defense, a suit they can never take off. For an animal that spends its life in an upright posture, controlling its position in the water column is essential, you know. The seahorse achieves this with a piece of internal hardware common to many fish: the swim bladder. The swim bladder. This is a gas-filled sac located in the body cavity that functions like an internal balloon or buoyancy control device. By precisely regulating the amount of gas inside this bladder, the seahorse can adjust its overall density. This allows it to float effortlessly at a desired depth, ascend slowly, descend to the seabed with minimal effort. It is the key to its serene, drifting movements. The process of adjusting buoyancy is a marvel of internal engineering. To become more buoyant and rise, the seahorse secretes gas, primarily oxygen, from its blood into the swim bladder through a specialized gland. To become less buoyant and sink, it absorbs gas from the bladder back into its bloodstream. This exchange is a slow and deliberate process, perfectly suited to the seahorse's unhurried lifestyle. Simple calculations of buoyant force show a delicate balance. The upward push of the water on the swim bladder must precisely counteract the downward pull of gravity on the seahorse's dense, bony body. This internal buoyancy engine is finely tuned. The seahorse must maintain its vertical orientation, and the position and shape of the swim bladder are critical for this stability. It is located near the seahorse's center of mass, helping to prevent it from tipping over. When a seahorse dies, the decay process can produce excess gas, causing the swim bladder to overinflate. This is why deceased seahorses are often found floating at the surface. It is a stark reminder of the constant, active biological control required to maintain this delicate equilibrium throughout the creature's life. This reliance on a swim bladder for buoyancy control explains why seahorses are generally confined to shallower waters. Rapid changes in depth are dangerous. If a seahorse is brought to the surface too quickly, the surrounding water pressure drops rapidly. The gas inside its swim bladder expands, just like a diver suffering from the bends. This can cause catastrophic internal injuries. The seahorse's hardware is designed for a life of slow, gentle adjustments, a life lived within a narrow band of pressure where its internal engine can operate safely and effectively. The male seahorse's brood pouch is far more than a simple pocket for carrying eggs. It is a complex and dynamic piece of biological hardware, a pseudo-uterus that rivals the complexity of mammalian pregnancy. When viewed under a microscope, the internal lining of the pouch reveals a dense network of blood vessels. This high degree of vascularization is essential for exchanging gases. This vascularization is also essential for exchanging nutrients with the developing embryos. The pouch is not just a protective shield. It is an active life support system. It acts as a placenta-like structure that nurtures the young from fertilization to birth. During pregnancy, the pouch functions as an external lung for the embryos. During pregnancy, the pouch also functions as a kidney for the embryos. Oxygen diffuses from the father's blood vessels into the pouch fluid, where it is absorbed by the developing young. At the same time, waste products diffuse out of the pouch, starting with carbon dioxide. Another waste removed is ammonia. Scientists have estimated the required blood flow. Scientists have also estimated the necessary oxygen diffusion rates. Those numbers reveal a high metabolic investment from the father. He is, in a very real sense, breathing for his entire brood. He is also metabolizing for his entire brood. That is a task requiring a huge expenditure of his own energy reserves. One of the most remarkable aspects of this paternal hardware is its ability to manage the immune system. The developing embryos are, genetically speaking, half foreign tissue. In most animals, the parent's immune system would attack and reject them. However, studies show that during pregnancy, the genes tied to the male's immune response are downregulated within the pouch. The father's body essentially creates an immunologically privileged zone, treating the embryos as part of himself rather than foreign invaders. This modulation is crucial for a successful pregnancy and a stunning example of convergent evolution. Furthermore, the pouch actively prepares the young for life in the ocean. Over gestation, the male carefully alters the chemical composition of the fluid inside the pouch. He gradually increases its salinity, slowly acclimating the embryos to the seawater's salt concentration. By the time they are born, they are fully prepared for the osmotic shock of entering the marine environment. This paternal hardware does not just incubate, it educates and prepares. It is a complete and self-contained nursery, engineered to give the next generation the best possible start in life. Beyond its remarkable eyes, the seahorse possesses an array of sensory hardware that allows it to interpret its world in ways we can barely imagine. Running along the sides of its body is the lateral line, a system common to most fish. It consists of a series of pores connected to a canal filled with sensory cells. These cells detect minute vibrations and changes in water pressure. This system acts as a form of touch at a distance, allowing the seahorse to sense the movement of nearby prey, the approach of a predator, the subtle shift of a current, even in complete darkness or murky water. Chemoreception, the sense of taste and smell, also plays a vital role in the seahorse's life. Though they lack a prominent nose, seahorses have sensory pits on their head that are highly sensitive to chemical cues in the water. This hardware is crucial for finding mates. A female releases pheromones that a male can detect from a distance, signaling her readiness to breed. This chemical communication is essential for bringing pairs together in the vastness of a seagrass meadow. It may also help seahorses locate their preferred food sources or avoid toxic substances in their environment. The processing of all this sensory information is handled by a surprisingly complex brain. While small, the seahorse's brain has well-developed optic lobes to process the dual inputs from its independent eyes. It must constantly integrate visual data with pressure signals from its lateral line and chemical cues from the water. This allows it to build a rich, multi-layered perception of its environment. The brain's ability to manage these different streams of information is what enables the seahorse to be such an effective ambush predator, calculating the perfect moment to strike based on a synthesis of sight, sound, and vibration. This entire sensory network is the software that runs on the seahorse's physical hardware. It transforms the animal from a passive drifter into an active and aware participant in its ecosystem. While its body may be slow, its senses are incredibly fast, constantly updating its internal map of the world. This unseen network is what allows the seahorse to survive. It is a testament to the fact that in nature, awareness can be just as powerful as speed, and the ability to process information can be as important as physical strength. Section 5. The mechanics of grasp and strike. The functional brilliance of the seahorse's hardware. Grasping feeding. The mechanics of its prehensile tail have been the subject of intense biomechanical study. Archival experiments have measured the force a seahorse can exert with its tail, revealing a grip that is both powerful and precise. The square prism structure of the tail's bony segments allows it to resist torsion or twisting far better than a cylindrical tail could. This ensures that once a seahorse has anchored itself, even a strong surge of water is unlikely to dislodge it. The secret to the tail's effectiveness lies in the interaction between its bony plates and soft tissues. Bony plates, muscles, ligaments. When a seahorse grasps a blade of seagrass, it is not simply wrapping its tail around it. It is actively conforming its grip to the specific shape of the object. This creates more points of contact and increases the frictional force, resulting in a highly secure anchor. The hardware is designed for maximum purchase with minimum effort, a critical energy-saving feature. Simultaneously, the hardware of the seahorse's head is primed for the strike. The feeding mechanism is a beautiful integration of a lever and a pump. Archival recordings of suction pressure during a strike show just how powerful this event is. The rapid expansion of the mouth cavity creates a vacuum that is strong enough to pull in prey from a short distance. High-speed footage frozen. A tiny shrimp at the mouth of the snout is drawn in by powerful suction. The elongated snout channels this suction force into a narrow, focused jet. This prevents the force from dissipating and ensures that all the power is directed at the target. Linking this hardware to function reveals an animal that is a master of potential energy. Coiled tail cocked head. The tail can snap around a holdfast in an instant, while the head can pivot and suck in prey in a millisecond. In these two actions, the seahorse transforms from a creature of placid stillness into one of dynamic force. Its internal hardware, from the plates in its tail to the bones in its throat, is a perfectly integrated system for a life of waiting, watching, and striking with lethal accuracy. Table of Contents. Part 5. Archive-led journey, about 3 sections. 1. From mythical steeds to museum drawers. 2. The flickering images of a captured life. 3. The digital revelation of a hidden world. Section 1. From mythical steeds to museum drawers. Our journey to understand the seahorse begins not in the ocean, but in the pages of ancient texts and the quiet, dusty halls of natural history museums. For centuries, these creatures were figures of myth, depicted in Greek art, depicted in Roman art as the miniature steeds of sea gods like Poseidon. Early naturalists, drawing from sailors' tales and dried specimens, struggled to classify them. An early sketch from the 16th century might show a seahorse with an almost literal horse's mane, its form exaggerated and misunderstood. These initial encounters were based more on imagination than on observation, painting a picture of a fantastical beast rather than a living animal. The archive begins with these beautiful, but often inaccurate, first impressions. The scientific journey truly started in the 18th century and the 19th century, the great age of exploration and collection. Naturalists aboard sailing expeditions brought back preserved specimens from around the globe. Here, in the archives of museums, we can open a drawer and find these ghosts of the past. A specimen card, written in elegant looping script from 1885, might note the collection location as the Sulu Archipelago and the species name as Hippocampus, the genus name given by Linnaeus himself, meaning horse sea monster. These collections were the first systematic attempts to catalog the world's seahorse diversity, separating myth from biology, one dried specimen at a time. Looking at these century-old specimens reveals how our scientific understanding has changed. Early taxonomists, faced with incredible variation in color and size, often declared new species based on minor differences. We now know through genetics that many of these were simply local variants of the same species, their appearance altered by diet or habitat. The archives show a history of taxonomic revision, with species names crossed out and relabeled as new information came to light. This process of reevaluation, documented on fading labels and in forgotten ledgers, highlights the slow, methodical, and self-correcting nature of scientific inquiry. The story is one of gradual clarification. These early archives also provide a somber baseline for conservation. A note from a collector in the early 20th century might describe a certain species as abundant in a location where today it is critically endangered. By comparing historical collection records with modern population surveys, we can map the decline of seahorse habitats over the decades. The specimens in these drawers are more than just biological curiosities. They are silent witnesses to a changing planet. They provide invaluable data points, allowing us to measure the impact of human activity on these fragile ecosystems and giving urgency to the conservation efforts of today. Section 2. The flickering images of a captured life. The next chapter in our archival journey takes us from the static world of preserved specimens to the dynamic world of moving images. As the 20th century dawned, so did the technology to film underwater. The first film reels of seahorses in aquaria were a revelation. For the first time, people could see these creatures not as dried, brittle objects, but as living, breathing animals. We can watch this old, grainy footage, perhaps from a 1930s newsreel, and see the jerky, upright swimming and the almost magical way a seahorse could anchor itself to a plastic plant. These early films, though simple, brought the animal's unique behavior into the public consciousness. As aquarium technology improved, so did the quality of the observations. Scientists could now keep seahorses in controlled laboratory settings, allowing for detailed study of their life cycle. Archival footage from the 1960s and 70s shows researchers meticulously documenting the courtship dance, the transfer of eggs, the incredible moment of male birth. We can see a scientist peering through a magnifying glass, counting the tiny fry as they are expelled from the male's pouch. These early lab studies, captured on 16mm film, provided the first concrete evidence for many of the behaviors that had previously only been anecdotal, laying the groundwork for decades of reproductive research. These films also helped to dispel long-standing myths. For years, there was debate about how the eggs were fertilized. Was it external or internal to the pouch? By carefully filming the transfer, researchers confirmed the eggs were deposited into the pouch before fertilization occurred. An annotation overlaid on this archival footage can pinpoint the exact moment the female's ovipositor is inserted, followed by the sealing of the pouch. This visual evidence was irrefutable. The flickering images from these mid-century aquaria became crucial pieces of data, settling old arguments and opening up new avenues of investigation into the specifics of paternal care. However, these early films also show the limitations of the time. The seahorses are often in bare tanks, their behavior altered by the artificial environment. We see them grasping onto air bubbler tubes instead of seagrass. This contrast between the archival footage and modern documentation of seahorses in their natural habitat is stark. It reminds us that while lab work is invaluable, a full understanding requires seeing the animal in the context it was designed for. The journey from these aquarium films to modern field telemetry represents a major leap in our ability to see the seahorse not just as a biological specimen, but as a wild animal. Section 3. The digital revelation of a hidden world. Our archival journey culminates in the present day, with a technological explosion that has revolutionized our ability to see and measure the seahorse's world. The advent of high-speed digital cameras has allowed us to slow down time itself, revealing secrets that were once far too fast for the human eye to perceive. Where old film reels showed a blur of motion, modern lab footage, shot at thousands of frames per second, dissects the feeding strike into its component parts. We can now watch, in exquisite detail, the pivot of the head and the explosive suction that draws in prey, turning a millisecond event into a 10-second ballet of biomechanical precision. The journey inward has been equally transformative. Technologies like CT scanning and MRI have allowed us to peer inside the seahorse's body without ever harming it. We can digitally reconstruct its entire skeleton, plate by interlocking plate, and animate it to understand how it moves. We can visualize the delicate swim bladder and see how it is positioned for perfect balance. Overlaying a CT scan onto slow-motion footage of a living seahorse allows us to connect external movement to internal structure with unprecedented clarity. The archives of today are not just images, they are vast datasets of anatomical and mechanical information. Field research has also been transformed. Instead of just observing, scientists can now tag seahorses with miniature acoustic transmitters. The archival data from these telemetry studies appears as dots moving on a digital map, revealing the hidden lives of these animals. We can see their tiny home ranges, their daily patterns of movement, and their interactions with mates. These digital tracks, collected over months or even years, provide a rich narrative of their anchored lives. They show us not just what a seahorse is, but what it does hour by hour in its own complex world, far from the view of a camera. This synthesis of historical records and modern data creates a uniquely rich and layered understanding. We can compare the anatomy of a 19th century museum specimen with a 21st century CT scan. We can contrast the grainy footage of a birth in a 1960s aquarium with high-definition video from a seagrass bed. This journey through the archives shows a clear progression, from myth to specimen, from specimen to living animal, and from living animal to a fully realized biological system. Each layer of the archive adds depth and context, revealing the seahorse to be even more wonderful than the myths ever imagined. Section 1. The Sum of All Parts. An evolutionary masterpiece. Our journey through the world of the seahorse has revealed a creature of profound complexity and quiet elegance. We began by exploring its remarkable adaptations, from the art of disappearing through camouflage to the extraordinary paternal care of the male. We then delved into its physical characteristics, measuring its equine head, unique coronet, and uncovering the precise geometry of its killer snout. Finally, we examined its internal hardware, from the suit of armor that protects it to the sophisticated sensory network that informs it. These three threads, adaptation, form, function, are not separate stories. Each element of its biology supports and enables the others. The prehensile tail, a unique physical trait, is the anchor for a life of stillness, a key behavioral adaptation. This anchored lifestyle, in turn, makes its camouflage ambush hunting strategy possible. The slow, gentle movement, dictated by the physics of its small fins and armored body, is a trade-off that is only viable because of its ability to hide. The internal hardware of the brood pouch makes the rapid reproductive cycle possible, a crucial adaptation for a small animal with high infant mortality. The seahorse is a perfect example of how evolution builds a complete system, where every part is dependent on all the others. This intricate synthesis is the seahorse's genius. It has not evolved for speed, strength, or size, the common currencies of survival in the ocean. Instead, it has specialized in stillness, stealth, and stability. It has traded the ability to roam for the mastery of a tiny domain. It has gambled on a reproductive strategy that turns our own biological norms upside down. The result is an animal that seems to defy the very logic of the marine world. Yet, as we have seen, its existence is not a defiance of physics or biology, but a masterful exploitation of their principles, pushed into a strange and beautiful new form. Through the archives of science, from dusty specimens to digital scans, we have traced our own evolving understanding of this animal. The journey has shown us that the more we learn, the more wondrous the seahorse becomes. It is not a mythical beast or a simple curiosity, but a highly sophisticated and finely tuned living machine. It stands as a testament to the sheer creativity of the evolutionary process, a reminder that there is more than one way to succeed in the struggle for existence. The seahorse is the sum of all its unique parts, an evolutionary masterpiece. Section 2. A fragile jewel in a changing ocean. This deep, mechanical understanding of the seahorse is not just an academic exercise. It is essential for its survival. Because its adaptations are so highly specialized, the seahorse is exceptionally vulnerable to changes in its environment. Its reliance on specific habitats like seagrass beds and coral reefs means that the destruction of these ecosystems is a direct threat to its existence. Pollution, coastal development. Rising sea temperatures are all placing immense pressure on the fragile worlds where these creatures make their anchored homes. Its strategy of site fidelity means it cannot simply swim away to find a new, healthier habitat. The seahorse's unique life cycle also makes it vulnerable. Its low mobility and small home range make it easy to over-harvest for use in traditional medicine and the aquarium trade. Its reproductive strategy, which relies on producing huge numbers of young with very low survival rates, is easily disrupted. A decline in the population of its tiny crustacean prey, or a slight change in water quality, can have a devastating impact on the survival of the next generation. Understanding the delicate mechanics of its life, the energy cost of pregnancy, the physics of feeding, the need for camouflage, helps us to appreciate just how easily this balance can be broken. By appreciating the seahorse as a complex biological system, we can better focus our efforts to protect it. Conservation is not just about saving a charismatic animal, it is about preserving the intricate web of conditions that allow it to thrive. It means protecting the seagrass meadows that provide its anchors, ensuring the water remains clear enough for it to hunt, and maintaining the ecological balance of its entire habitat. The science of biomechanics and physiology gives us the blueprint for what a healthy seahorse needs, guiding conservation work to be more effective and targeted. Our knowledge creates a responsibility to act. The seahorse is a quiet and unassuming creature, a fragile jewel of our oceans. It asks for little, only a safe place to hold on and a world stable enough for its delicate dance of life to continue. The more we learn about its incredible defiance of convention, the greater our admiration grows. It is a symbol of the immense and often hidden biodiversity of our planet, a reminder of the endless wonders still waiting to be understood. We hope this journey into its world has left you with a new sense of appreciation for this gentle, strange, and utterly captivating fish. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.